Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome back to the Anime Talk, the show where, if you're expected, by the way, the actual part where could say something, it's because I did not finish it on purpose. Today, if you read from the title, we're actually going to be talking about unfinished anime. And why does this happen in anime? What is the purpose for unfinished shows and series in general? What's going on? Why is this always a relevant thing? Now, what's funny about, I think anime in general is that there's a big difference between how Japanese, I think, media formats run compared to the Western formats. Now, the Western society, when we promote something, for example, like if we're promoting a new TV show or a super hero movie or something like that, usually it's based off a source material that's of course existing already. So for take for example an X-Men movie, X-Men has long before existed in the comic book venture, and already has its fan base. It has its build already. That the movies come out more so that they just are there to entertain us, to kind of make something out of something that you've already read so much of already, and just give it a new style, a new formatting, if that makes sense. While Japanese culture and their media doesn't do the same thing we do, there are a lot of anime that are made not for the reason of being an individual thing, but they're actually meant to promote a actual series, or a for example manga, or maybe a visual novel or a video game or something like that. And they are not complete because they're not meant to be complete. They're meant to make you want to go on and then read the manga, or then read the light novels or whatever. And a lot of people have issues with that. The best example that I really am, I think, always using as a prime and prim example is Studio Dean's Umineko. Now, Umineko, if you don't know, is actually like a per se Higurashi type anime that actually takes place in the same universe as Higurashi. And the concept of it is very similar in, the style of the setting, blah, blah, blah. That's all very similar. Now, Umineko was a 22 episode anime series that came out, I forget the exact year, so I'm not going to try to place a year on it, but I think it was around, I want to say like 2009, 2010, around that time period. So I might be a few years off, I might be a few years under, whatever. But its purpose was meant to make people read the manga, which wasn't doing that well. It wasn't doing bad per se, don't get me wrong. It was doing very well in that sense, but it wanted to do better. So the company made the anime in terms of, okay, here's the show, here's what we got. And then they went, okay, well, at 22 episodes in, you're left with this giant cliffhanger, of everything that you've come to see in this anime so far. The mysteries, the villains, everything have come to a screeching halt, because it's like, well, you want to find out everything else? You want to find out what the story continues on, what's awaiting our main characters? Read the manga. And that is not the only show that's done this, but it's one of the best examples I can use, because it is one of the ones that pisses people off so greatly, because of the thing of, you need to have a conclusive thing with anime in general, or at least have something that, is enough of a conclusion that if you want more of it, you can go on and read the stuff, but it has to end in a way that you're satisfied with just being the anime, not per se having, or excuse me, watching the anime, watching the anime rather than having to go on and move on to a manga or a light novel series. That should not have to be existent. That's, to me, ridiculous. Going back to Western society does not do this because they already have the built foundation, essentially, if that makes any sense to you guys and girls. It's like, any form of media we make in terms of, movies or video games and stuff like that, if we make like a series based off of that, a spin-off or something like that, it's already there. It doesn't make you per se want to go out and go read that or watch that or do whatever to link the two together. More so, it's just there to go, hey, listen, here's a new movie that's based off this universe. It's to give you a new, fresh perspective, and that's it. It's not meant to go, okay, we're promoting this new comic book series that we now don't want you to actually go read, because it's almost unfair in many ways to make people go out and do that. I love anime, I love reading, I love all that stuff. But the thing of the day is, if I'm choosing to watch an anime over reading a manga series, I want to watch the anime in completion. I don't want to have to go and then switch to the manga because the anime is incomplete or it never will be complete because it's just meant to be like, oh, here's reinforcement to go and watch that and to go read that series now. That to me annoys the crap out of me. There are a lot of anime like that. I mean, I could go off and start listing a million of them. I'm not going to do that because honestly, I think it would take like days. I'll be honest with you. There are so many anime out there that if you look up their actual like creation and why they were created in the first place, it was meant solely to promote the franchise before it, so the visual novel, light novel, or video game or whatever, or the manga. But it was never meant to be its own standalone thing, and that's becoming a common trend in Japan to do this, kind of persuasion to make you read or go buy the light novels and stuff like that to show your appreciation. Almost nowadays, what's even more sad, I think, and kind of irritating to a point, is when you want to go, for example, you want to see a popular anime that's really like, oh my god, I love this anime so much, and everyone else seems to agree with you, and it only makes 12 episodes or 24 episodes at top, and you're like, wait, why? Because the manga's not done yet. Then you'll never get an actual completion of the anime unless two things happen. One, it has to be that the manga now has to do very, very well in sales. And two, it has to show a booming like popularity, because the thing of the day is anime is not cheap to make, guys and girls. It is a very expensive venue to do. And I always give credit to the companies that do this. And what's funny about that is that it does make it where if they wish to make more anime and make more of this stuff that you love, they have to get the revenue from the manga or from the other companies that are in charge of the thing that they made. So, like, essentially, if, like, I want to say, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. Besides Umaneko, I'm trying to think of another outstandish example. I would say, for example, probably High School of the Dead would be a good one. Where High School of the Dead, the manga went on hiatus because, the author had various issues and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into what they were. You could read that up on yourself. But the author took their time to, take hiatus from the show or from the manga, and what that did was it had a really groundbreaking effect for the anime, because the anime actually was not going to be a one shot. It was meant to be a long running series, and even it was funny if you haven't seen the anime. At the very very end, there is a lighthearted comedy act where one of the characters from the anime goes, "Okay, we'll see you around the next season." And that was how many years ago? Maybe like 5 years ago now. High School of the Dead, I think, came out in 2012. Maybe 4 years ago, whatever. But yeah, that happened. And it's like, well, where's the second season? Lo and behold, even the manga, where's the ending of the manga? The manga has no end in sight right now. It's just dead water. And, a lot of people got disappointed because they love the manga for that. I actually particularly, I love the manga for High School of the Dead also. I thought it was great. But I love the anime too. And equally, I was like, wow, really? We're never going to see any more of this? It's just done? And that happens a lot. It really does, and it's irritating. It irritates the crap out of me, I'll be honest with you. But it's something that I understand why it does happen. I just wish it didn't happen. I really, really wish it didn't happen. It's something that, like I said before, anime is expensive, so I understand that they need to make revenue from the sources they need to back further the anime they wish to keep going with. But I almost wish that, I think that they should think a little bit more, at least, I think they should think harder before going, well, let's just make a 12-episode show, see how it does, and then, move on from there. Because there's a lot of times that people are almost disheartened to watch a 12-episode show, and I know a lot of people are like this, because they think that the series will not be ever completed. And I have to agree with them, because there's a lot of shows that I watched that aren't just done. That you watch 12 episodes and that's it, nothing else, it's just over. And I'm like, wow, why? And I'll be honest with you guys and girls, just because I like reading manga and I love reading, light novels and stuff like that, does not mean everyone shares my sentiment with that. There's a lot of times that people don't want to read, manga, don't want to read light novels, and they shouldn't have to, just to further promote something that isn't their, cup of tea. If they like anime over all those other things I just mentioned, then guess what? There should just be an anime, not have to be all three of them. It's like, oh, you must watch this, you must read this, you must read that. No, it should just be choose which one you want. And if you want, different perspectives like that, whatever, that's what you get. My solution to this, and this is more so less of a business standpoint, but more so I think a good idea, is do something similar to what Fullmetal Alchemist did, where you have a giant difference between what the manga is and what the actual anime was. The first one. I'm not talking about, Brotherhood, because Brotherhood follows the manga very closely. I'm talking about the 2003 Full Metal Alchemist, which was its own thing entirely, essentially. You can do that in anime, and I think people would be less expectant of having it then clone the manga, because I know a lot of people nowadays are like, if the manga is not, if the anime is not done exactly like the manga was done, they get pissed off and they get annoyed and stuff like that. They could fix that quite easily if they just went, let's just make different stories, different plots. It might annoy people at first, but people then realize and have less expectations in terms of, oh, okay, we now realize that this anime will be a different story or a different way than the manga or the light novel or visual novel, whatever. Then it's portrayed as. It's a different adaptation. That's my idea, but I mean, that's just my idea. I'm curious what you guys and girls think. Leave in the comments. Tell me what do you think would solve this kind of issue that anime has with kind of being incomplete. Or incomplete. Oh, I guess incomplete is technically a word too, but incomplete is the correct way of saying it. Anyways, guys and girls, that's it for this anime talk. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, comment, subscribe, the whole nine. And I will talk to you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a blessed day, everyone. Bye bye.